Sleepy Reader, back again with the second comic book thoughts in so many days. My previous one was listed as for mature viewers only because of some panels from Savage Dragon I showed. I voluntarily marked it that way. But that means that if you're not signed into YouTube, you can't watch it. So I hope that didn't inconvenience anybody. It might have gotten it a few less random views, I assume. But anyway, in this time, I just kind of wanted to check in with more of the stuff I've read recently most of which I really liked. Some of which I just don't have a lot to say about, except I really liked it, such as Skyward. It just left me looking forward to the next issue, and this father-daughter team-up kind of excites me as a father with a daughter. Very cool. Just continue to enjoy this. Weatherman 3 continued the... It's kind of visually more ugly than the first issue, but and I was a bit surprised when our heroes ended up back in the city. That was a bit weird. But anyway, I'm really enjoying this, kind of turning into a political adventure comic with a science fiction political adventure comic in this very different future world where Earth no longer exists and Mars is colonized. And, you know, with touches of Philip K. Dick kind of identity questions. And speaking of identity questions, kind of, this one in a way is turning out to have kind of a Philip K. Dick, I suppose all along a Philip K. Dick thing, in the sense of we're in this world that may or may not be real, in terms of the village that the heroes of Black Hammer have ended up in. And there's definitely a big twist at the end. I loved the last panel, but it changes everything, so I won't say what it was or show it. But continue to realize how much I love Dean Ornstrom's art, especially combined with the fantastic coloring of Dave Stewart. Jeff Lemire is still on target here. Did I talk about the finale of Royal City? At the back of that, Jeff Lemire talked about how he thought he would spend, a huge amount of time writing about Royal City, but then he got itchy to do other things. And you kind of see Black Hammer, the Black Hammer universe gives him a lot of different things he can do, and you can see that he's constantly coming up with new ideas, and there's so many Jeff Lemire comics coming out. So I kind of interpreted the reason why Royal City ended so quickly is because he had so many other ideas piling up that he wants to do. But I hope he continues to follow this. I really don't know where it's going to go next. I'm kind of excited. Hopefully it will go in a good direction. But it seems like 50% of Jeff Lemire's books end up going in a good direction and some others disappoint me. But more of the disappointments are from the mainstream publishers. I just read Archie Meets Batman #2 this afternoon at lunch, and really enjoyed it. I think the first issue was kind of a setup, and now things are really clicking, for a fun, goofy time where the Gotham villains are taking over Riverdale, and the way they're doing it, leaving kind of the teens as the only people who can't be controlled by the villains is a lot of fun. And there's a lot more focus on the teenagers than on the superheroes here, but in a good way. And I look forward to it developing more. And I'm glad that it's not just 2 issues. I guess I had assumed it was just 2 issues. It doesn't say how many issues it is, but now I'm feeling like I want it to be like a healthy 5 or 6 issue miniseries. If you like Archie and you like Batman 66, I think you'll really, really enjoy this. So this is officially, I may change my mind. They're going on a break. My last issue of Gideon Falls in single issues. The first 5 issues had me thinking I would really enjoy this more in bigger chunks, so I was going to switch to trades. This issue was so fantastic visually, and often one enjoys the visuals better in a floppy where you can lay it flat. That it feels like finally the story's caught up to the point where Andrea Sorrentino can explode with all these visual ideas that he has been kind of working up to. So it was just an amazing visual treat. It ends with an interesting, intriguing revelation, also connecting the two stories, the two threads of Gideon Falls in interesting direction, in an interesting way that I had not expected. So yeah, and is this also Dave Stewart coloring? Yes. So also Dave Stewart's coloring kind of got a chance to go off leash a bit too. So anyway, a really fun issue. The Gideon Falls trade must be about to come out, and I definitely recommend it to anyone who likes kind of a slow burn horror story with some unusual comic book visuals in it. This I didn't realize until after I read it. I thought it was just a fill-in issue, but it's actually the swimsuit special. So it's not a numbered issue of Curse Words, and it's not, kind of unfortunately, drawn by Ryan Brown. The cover is, but the interiors, I think, have colors by Brown and his coloring assistant or his coloring partner. So it has still a lot of the look of Brown's work. It's drawn by a perfectly decent artist named Joe Quinones. He does a good job, but it doesn't quite have that Ryan Brown feeling. But for a summer special, a sort of little side project, I thought it was good. I kind of feel like this story is to be continued. Like we got to learn even more about Wizard and Ruby's relationship back in the day and their birth of their child. So somewhere in some Curse Word special, perhaps, or something, we're going to see more of that. And it was a good story. Only if you're following Curse Words already, even though it's a standalone of sorts, it really wouldn't make sense to people who are not reading Curse Words. I still highly recommend Curse Words to anyone who likes fantasy with a wacky bunch of twists. Speaking of wacky, but in a completely different tone, the often horrific Ice Cream Man takes the idea of Neapolitan into having this guy who receives a Neapolitan from the evil, mysterious Ice Cream Man to trail off into 3 different lives, one for each flavor. And all of them are creepy in their own distinct way. To some degree, they don't completely make sense. I'm kind of waiting for a video of someone to explain how they all make sense. And there is a certain feeling for me with Ice Cream Man. I'm kind of waiting for certain things to be explained later on. Like there was the previous issue where the person was falling out of the skyscraper and everyone inside the skyscraper was turning into crazy monsters and other things like that. And I'm waiting for some of these things to be explained. There was a hint that there was someone else kind of stalking the Ice Cream Man himself. So anyway, there's a lot of mysteries, but each issue is mostly one and done. Each issue is kind of a playing with a different idea than previously. So I'm just always excited to see what they'll do next. I'm more and more a fan of Martin Morazzo's art. He was also in She Could Fly. So somehow he's managing to do 2 comics at the same time. Maybe he's one of those really fast artists. Great coloring, of course, in Ice Cream Man too. Who's the colorist? Sorry. Colors by Chris O'Halloran. I don't know if he's been doing the colors all along, but good stuff. The Terrifics, which has been mostly a disappointment, but I've been sticking with it for various reasons. Mostly because I'm a Tom Strong fan. I'm a Fantastic Four fan. I want to see what Jeff Lemire can do. But unfortunately, the experiment of the artist first kind of plotting has not gone that well in the New Age of Heroes. But this issue has art by Dale Eaglesham, who I think is the 4th artist in 7 issues. So when the artist is controlling things and the artist keeps changing, that's weird. But Eaglesham's art is so good, the story seems elevated, particularly in the Tom Strong parts. I really enjoyed those. The colors look great here, the layouts. So the story becomes a lot more fun. And I think Lemire found more to do with his scripting after the art was done, kind of aspect of things in this issue than before. I gotta say, Mr. Terrific's face mask drives me crazy. It just makes no sense to me. It doesn't look good. You have to look at it a long time to even realize it's a T on his face. It just looks like a black splotch a lot of the times. And it just makes, I don't know, it's just a visual bad idea. They should just get rid of that and leave him with a T on his outfit. This dog is great. I can't even remember why the dog is in it. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this. I hope Dale Eaglesham is on the next issue. Maybe on 3 or 4 issues would really help. I can't remember if the Terrifics is one of these that's already slated to be canceled. It might well be. DC needs to make better, if it is about to be canceled, DC needs to make better use of Dale Eaglesham. He's really excellent on this more sort of quirky, slightly retro-feeling comic book. Britannia, Lost Eagles of Rome, #2. I'm really starting to get into this. I think in the first issue, there was a certain amount of focusing on how the art is a little more standard than the previous miniseries in this series. But the mystery and the politics of Rome is really gelling for me here, and I'm really interested in it. The trick with mystery stories is they really pivot on their ending, right? The end of the mystery has to be kind of satisfying. So we'll see. Luckily, it's only 4 issues, so we'll see pretty soon. I don't know if I've ever seen Peter Milligan do a straightforward mystery before, so it'll be interesting to see if this is something he's good at pulling off. This one has nice, I enjoyed the process art at the back, actually seeing the script and the coloring and the letter. I don't know if there's much difference in or need to see the lettering, although if you're a fan of lettering, to see where they place the lettering, I guess, is interesting. But I definitely enjoy seeing the black and white art and then the color. That's cool. And the script. Justice League Dark. Wow, it's a weird thing. It's hard for me to read this in one sitting. It's just kind of slow going, and yet it's full of elements that interest me. This one has the new paper. It's like only some, I don't think the Terrifics had, no, the Terrifics still had glossy paper, and this one still had the new paper. I don't know where the Batman book is that I read that was on the Batman mini that came out with Kelly Jones. That one, the coloring didn't come out right on the new paper. This one's fine on the new paper. I do like the matte paper when the coloring comes out well. I love the Swamp Thing here. I kind of like elements of Wonder Woman's personality and Detective Chimp, and I like all the elements. It's fun to see Dr. Fate. I guess there's this weird thing in Dr. Fate, like I saw it in a J.M. DeMatteis Dr. Fate mini that I read a while back, that Matt and I were thinking of doing for a podcast, but decided not to cover it after all, where these Lords of Order don't seem really like good guys, and maybe even more so now. In fact, the Lord of Order seems to want to wipe out all of mankind, or I don't know, all of Earth. I'm not sure, or just change everything. It seems more chaotic than order, I guess. Anyway, I'm interested in all these elements, but somehow the story didn't click super well. Like, here's a real cool thing where what's the Books of Magic guy is actually been made into a vase, and they break the vase and he talks to them, and then the vase reshapes itself. So just tons of cool ideas. Hopefully it will pick up steam as it goes along. I don't see dropping it just because I like all these ideas, but I do wish it was a better read. So anyway, one more book, sorry. Another kind of delight. I heard the Gaunt Man, that's his Twitter handle, Oddfellow Thoughts, talking about Beast of Burden and saying that it's kind of dogs fighting Cthulhu like magic. And so I went, and also it's drawn by one of my recent favorite artists, Benjamin Dewey, and I was not led wrong. I mean, the art in here is amazing. The way he does the dogs and the other animals, but particularly the dogs, is just kind of staggeringly good. I'd say the story was interesting but not totally compelling yet. But I just like the idea so much that I actually went out and got the trade of the original Beast of Burdens, which is drawn by Jill Thompson. So I look forward to reading that, and I assume I will enjoy this more after getting some more context about these characters, the characters being dogs. But it feels, even though I didn't totally get deeply into it, it just has a delicious feeling to it, and it feels like all the dogs have different characters. And Benjamin Dewey does not anthropomorphize them very much at all. I do miss his work on Autumnlands. I wish Autumnlands had continued. That's one of my comic book bummers. Maybe that will come back someday, but I have my doubts. So yeah, I put this on my pull list. I don't know how many issues it's going to go for. I assume it's a mini, though, in the normal Dark Horse way. So there's some other comics that I read that I can't find. We got the Rose City Comic Con, the Portland Comic Book Convention coming up. I'll be seeing Matt from the podcast and from Agent 42. No, I still think of him as Agent 42Q and not Wednesday Serial, but also being Matt and Eric from Long Box Review, and perhaps run into some other people if possible. I know that Bueller is going to be there. If I don't run into him then, I hope to contact him, and hopefully we can get together at a comic book store someday. But talk to all you guys later. Bye-bye.